Disclaimer for YouTube, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Welcome to CathyDSlaught's SRC4u Zoom call for March 31st, 2022. We're here on Cathy's website, CathyDSlaght.com, and we're going to scroll down and look for the Zoom banner. If you'd like to be part of Cathy's SRC4u Daily Energy Clearing Group, the information's here to register. Once you're registered, you can pop over here to the SRC4u software demonstration so you can figure out you have this software. Now, what do you do with it? Well, let's click here and find out. Now, remember, when you go into the room, it will be loud, so you may want to turn down your speakers. One moment, please.
Okay, for those who want to take glutathione in a supplement, there's only one kind of glutathione that they say will be useful in the body orally, and that's, you have to look for a glutathione which has the name Cetria on it, because that is usable in the body, and it's spelled Cetria.
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 Yes.
And that's the copyrighted name of a certain processing of glutathione.
Okay, thank you.
And it has been clinically proven to work in the body.
Thank you, thank you.
Or anything, Karen, or what?
Well, anything that glutathione is good for, and it's good for almost everything. We need glutathione active in our bodies.
Okay.
And for those who just came in, what we were talking about, and we'll test our group right now, is the amount of radiation stress that's been showing up in the scans. And we're still running from yesterday, so I'm going to just to allow that to go on. We're working on emotions. Look at that excess, little excess, and it's in reference to vitamins, actually. Let's just go here and test.
Where are people picking up the glutathione?
Health food stores. You might be able to order it offline, too. I don't know. My health food store locally has it. So that's what I've been buying.
Yeah, I'm going to get some.
I get mine from Rob Keller, MD. But then there's also people proposing the X39 patches. So I'll have to look at that Cetria and see if it's on it. But I've been taking it for a long time.
In New York, they had infusions, and that was great, you know.
What was it, Susan? Infusions?
Before surgery, if you go in and you have an infusion, you know, in your blood, you put it directly into your blood. There's absolutely no fogginess. Oops. Excuse my phone. There's no fogginess at all after surgery. It's wonderful.
Okay, well, you can see right now, and actually probably the SRC, as it runs, is also working to balance out that kind of stress. We're right now at about a 38 stress related to radiation. And what I do, because I'm just comfortable with it, is you can just test yourself and see if you need to get this, see if it would be a good thing for you. And then let's just quickly first go down the rest of what we're still working on. So we've got stress related to conflictions, glandular. Let's just see. Our Pro Tools will not come up right now, so never mind. But I felt let's just focus on this. We've got a few things to work on. It won't be a long call today, but little denial, thin-skinned. words to ponder. Anyone who lives within their means suffers from a lack of imagination. Universal love. Resistance factor, our physical body. And remember, what runs the body is the brain. And so we have this phenomenal, that's what we've been focused on, is the brain. And I'm going to see if I can do this today. Let's change the color, because I'm hoping today to get this language of color book read. I've got a rather long car trip and then sitting in an office ahead of me. I'm going to try to read it. And apparently blue stimulates the mind. So is that blue or is that purple? Let's see how that looks. All right, well, that's purple, all right. No. And we'll go up there. How's that?
That's turquoise.
Where's the blue?
There's a frame of blue, sort of in the middle.
Right here?
Deep below that, one below.
That?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. It's just.
And now pull your
right. Yeah. Let's
dial
make
up and make a tint.
Yeah, there we go. How's that? Let's look at that. All right. Thank you. Let's do that. So maybe that'll stimulate our mind a little bit. I didn't know the color blue. I thought it was more of a relaxer. Maybe that's what it takes to stimulate the mind. So anyway, a couple of things I learned yesterday from another energy worker, and I didn't get the long bugs email out. I'll get that out hopefully today. But this is something she says is phenomenal with stress related to cancer and tumors. So I'm just sharing that code. She also mentioned this is a hormone that she says is related to stress from inflammation. I went in there to see if we wanted to clear that. We took 16 hours yesterday. And then again, got this Zach Bush email, and I thought he had an interesting startup paragraph that a lot of the things going on now that seem traumatic are putting us on a real path to manifestation, which is what we're working on, manifestation of our reconciliation with our nature and expression of our full unified potential. I thought, well, it's a good way to look at things. Some of you have mentioned that too. I'm talking with someone, a group that already gets this, but it's just worth sometimes looking at again. And then, remember yesterday, we talked about guilt, and it came up as a very high number. And what seemed to be most effective for clearing that stress was actually affirmations. And I did find an interesting affirmation with radionics rates. I am the living operator of my mind. So let's go ahead and douse that in. This one's my daughter. We don't want to do that. Let's just put that. Well, we're still going, so we can do that. Okay, so looks like we have a benefit of this affirmation. Represents a little bit of a stress. The ego wants to be the operator. So we want to take control of that. Okay, so we're going to take that in the sustenance balancer also. Let's see if we can pull that up.
That's another good question. Kathy.
Yes, what is it?
When you're working with the dowser, how do we know that isn't coming from our egos?
Well, you don't. What I do is I tell people this is just one way of getting some information. And even if it is coming from your ego, you need to know what's coming from your ego. What I do, I look at it as what are we resonating with, because we are going to create, for the most part, what we resonate with, whether it's impacted even by the collective.
And the reason why I asked that question is because when I'm doing my dowsing with my pendulum, and I'm looking for answers, yes or no. A lot of times I'll check back to it, and then I'll say, "Well, is this answer true?" And it'll come back. Sometimes it'll come back and say no. Then I'll ask again, and then it'll come back and say yes. So I mean, like, that's great.
Yeah, I'm not at this point that good with a pendulum, and I could hold it up and say I will win the lottery, and it might give me or I just won the lottery. It may give me a big yes. The dowser though in the SRC, many times when people ask me to douse something, and in my mind I'm thinking, oh, that's what they're asking me. That's crazy for them to do that, and I don't get answers in keeping with what I'm thinking with the SRC on a conscious level anyway. So, but I tell them it's not psychic. You want to always use your own intuition. It's just information.
Right.
Yeah, and the more you do it, the more interesting the information seems to get. So we're gonna run that affirmation through our etheric field. I am the living operator of my mind. And of course, that I am is always a powerful statement. And we've got some radionics rates with it because we know everything's a number. And then I just we don't need to dwell a lot on this depression. It's at this point not a major stress for the group. We're not asking for a lot of happy zaps, etc. But you may want to use this for yourself or for a client if they ask you. What I'm reading, this is going to be thought-provoking. We see some instances that create depression. And I mentioned, I think yesterday, it used to be with a traumatic bereavement or a death, psychiatry taught give a person a year. And see, the irony is sometimes you need to be depressed. I've for years told people with what had happened to them, it would be unusual if they weren't depressed. And there is a process you go through, and it can be a teacher. But it used to be they'd give people a year, and then if they were still depressed, they would begin to put them on antidepressants. But in 2015, they changed that, and now they immediately put them on antidepressants as if there is a mental issue. And so that's something everybody has to give their own thought to it. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that. Hopelessness, that's a big one for suicide. Feeling unprotected. But then this is something they're also finding that, and especially as you go through life and get older, disconnection from meaningful work, disconnection from other people, from meaningful values, childhood trauma, which kind of ties back up to that, disconnection from the natural world, disconnection from a hopeful or secure future. And it's interesting, this word disconnection, because we may be disconnected from the very information that surrounds us. And that's where this SRC work can help to clear any blocks to that information coming in, because we know there's a solution for everything. Now, they've taught us that it can be genetic, and it does appear there is some merit to that for some people. Brain changes in the event of an illness or an accident or aging, we're getting down here to the physical, underactive thyroid. But let me tell you what's interesting. Even with the genetic and the brain changes, they have found these things up here can cause brain changes and can activate these genes. So Bruce Lipton talked about that. He said we're like little spaceship voyagers. We've got the information in our cells, but it's activated from outside us. And that's kind of what I'm reading. You have to do your own reading, see what you think. But, for example, this serotonin transporter gene, many people can have some stress with that, but it's this stuff up here that gets it in motion. Same thing with the brain changes. It's this stuff up here that implements that, and same thing here with underactive thyroid. This stuff up here can set that off. So, and then finally, you can have some spiritual attack, which can be sending you some real messages to end your life. And let's just, again, we don't need to spend a lot of time on this, but let's just see what the group says at this moment in time. Oops, doggone it. Having a heck of a time with all this. Okay. Okay, so let's see how we look today. See, we're looking good. So getting the energy, pardon me? Yeah. Getting this energy every day, you will be, I think, clearing quite a bit related to this that you may be unaware of. We're just fine as a group. And so that's why I said we don't need to dwell on this. We need to be aware of it. See what you find. If you do any further research on this, what I have found is they actually never did have any real validation that brain chemistry is off with depression. And they did some studies which were interesting, and we're not talking little brief studies that a bunch of pharmaceuticals funded and told the scientists what they could say. We're talking about other types of studies. And they wanted to find out if a person thought they had something, like a chemical problem with their brain. Was that a benefit? Did that make them feel a little better about depression? Or did it make them feel worse? And did others who were given the impression a person had a chemical imbalance, how did they feel? And it was quite interesting that the people who were led to believe they suffered from depression or anxiety, the two kind of go together, because of something imbalanced in their brain, it was worse for them. And so that people treated them worse, and they thought less of themselves. And especially then if you look at some of this and you say, this could be it right here. This could be the real issue. And it can then, of course, make some brain changes. It can perhaps activate, but the information about brain chemistry is not there. Also, the interesting thing about the antidepressants is some of it may be placebo. I know plenty of people who went on antidepressants and said it helped, but then you read other things and realize it could be a placebo effect, and typically it does not last. They have to make some changes in their medication, and there are some side effects. So just all things, it's a controversial subject, just things to think about. Well, let's just go in here, asking for emotions. Let's just see, do some of the basics.
Cathy, have you ever done anything with the ADHD?
No. What is ADHD?
I think it's hyperactivity. There's just, I have so many.
Sure, yeah.
so many adults around me, and I'm just thinking of it in terms of depression. There's just so many adults being told that they have ADHD right now.
Wow.
And they'll start on the drugs, but then they'll get off because they're so bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's attention deficit. But I really would be curious what it truly ends up being. Yeah. Have you done anything with it, Kevin?
The system, with our system?
Yeah.
There's all kinds of mind and brain combos on there. The emotional content of organs and meridians. Yeah, we do all kinds of stuff.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You may find as they continue to get their balancing. I really am big on doing this work every day. That begins to balance out, and we may not ever know the root source cause. That's one thing I read. Don't worry so much about finding the root source cause. Just do your work and let your self-healing ability clear it. But I kind of agree with that. I'd like to know. I like to know the root cause. And it is the depression so much. Let's just look in here and see also. She's doing auto.
There's a trend right now where they are widely encouraging everyone to believe they have ADHD. Mm. And they put out videos that say, oh, do you do this? Do you do this? Mm-hmm. And even some of my family members said, oh, I think I have ADHD. I said, if those are the characteristics, then everybody has ADHD. Mm-hmm. So as a teacher who worked with lots of students who really had ADHD, I find it kind of annoying.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree with that too, that it feels like it's a new trend where they're really working on people and making it be an identifier for them.
Anything to pull in the money. And there is big money in the depression. And the cholesterol drugs, there are certain categories of drugs that, great revenue.
They also are a way to control us.
I was just going to say that too. It keeps you dulled down. It keeps your vibration low.
Mm-hmm.
And how many of these people are addicted to TikTok?
Mm.
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
Is that where it's coming from? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that, I think, Nancy, you brought up a while back, we need to look into this addiction to technology.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. I'm kind of looking at it through all of your brain stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. And you see here, I just did an auto for the acupuncture, and we're again working on the crown chakra and the brain. So let's see, 30 minutes. So this is something, just to continue understanding and balancing. And a lot of times, that's all it takes. You can get up every morning and just hit your wonder click. It doesn't have to be, a long, drawn out. So let's see what we want to do here. And we're still, interestingly enough, our theme was I am patient. So that is, I guess sometimes you have to realize you don't have your overnight. Just continue your work.
When I was sent to marketing school, they drilled in our brain, white space is your friend, and I've got 3 seconds to capture your attention or it's gone. So, like with education through Charlotte Iserbates shared under the Reagan administration, she uncovered they were weaponizing education. I wonder, and I'm just thinking out loud, if they've done the same thing with marketing. And when you look at TikTok and then the phone itself, this blue screen or something, it's like how much mind control is really involved in all this.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All interesting thoughts, and our brain is a powerful computer that can be manipulated. Once we wake up to it, we can clear that. But in most cases, we don't wake up to it. The vast majority doesn't. So their biggest concern every day seems to be what they're going to eat that day. So you have to think about it. And anyway, so there we are for today with our blue. I'm glad you helped me find blue, Kevin, and which should stimulate our mind as well. And we'll move forward with this work on our computer system tomorrow. Anybody have any thoughts?
Thank you, Cathy.
Yeah, lots to think about. Thanks, Cathy.
Yeah, it's a lot to think about. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
This concludes the SRC4u Zoom call. Thank you for participating. We look forward to seeing you again. Till then, take care and be well. And for YouTube, disclaimer again, this is for entertainment and educational purposes only.